Hi, this is Lala. Welcome to my podcast. I'm so excited that you're here. Before you move on to the interview, I would like to remind you of one thing. I created this platform for you to hear good stories about Austria. Honestly, it's seldom that I hear good stories about Austria, and in general, seldom that I hear good stories on the internet. So my desire is to spread this good news, these good interviews with as many people as possible. And I cannot do this on my own, and I need you. So make sure to like this video, to subscribe to my channel, and share this interview with as many people as possible. If you want to become part of the Good Stories community, then make sure to subscribe to this channel first of all. And second of all, comment on the section below with good stories that you experienced in Austria. I read all the comments, I read all the stories, and I'm really excited to connect with you. I really want this platform to grow. I really want us to become a huge community who's grateful to be in Austria, who's grateful for Austria, and can spread goodness around them. I actually recorded this interview in both languages, German and English, because at the beginning I was a little bit skeptical. I didn't know if Austrians or German-speaking people would listen to it. So I'm curious, if you would like to watch this interview in German, then make sure you go to my channel and you search for the German version. And I'm really excited to see if I have any people watching in German. Make sure you join me on this crazy journey and watch this episode till the end. Hello everyone and welcome to Good Stories podcast with Lala. This podcast is about giving a voice to many good stories which happen daily in our lives. I'm going to have amazing guests, amazing interviews with personal deep stories. So make sure you watch this first episode till the end, because it's packed with amazing stories. And today I'm having as my first guest my very dear friend Nathan, and he's gonna share what good things he's been experiencing in Austria. And not only Nathan, welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be here. Thanks for the invitation. This will be fun.
Yes, it will be fun. Tell the audience a little bit about yourself, where you come from, and yes, how did you end up in Austria?
Yeah, thanks. I just asked you before we started recording, how many years have you been here? And then I was thinking back, I've been here since 2007, so 16 years, which means you've been here 14 years. Yeah. And time flies, huh?
Yeah, we're getting older.
I know. So I was born in Springfield, Illinois, in the U.S., south of Chicago, and that's where I grew up, and moved to San Diego, California for university, spent 4 years there.
What did you study?
I studied business administration with a focus on entrepreneurship, and it was at a Christian university, so I really enjoyed the integration of entrepreneurship and faith, and that gets into what I'm doing today. We'll get into that a bit later, but I was really fascinated with the integration of faith and entrepreneurship. So decided to study that and played 4 years of soccer at the university. So that's been a big passion in my life too. So soccer's been a big passion, nature, like waterfalls, hiking, and Mexican food. Big passion of mine.
Tacos.
Yes.
So you've been living in Austria for 16 years now. Why Austria?
Why not? Austria is a cool place to be, but to be honest, it was never on my radar growing up. I mean, I was aware that it's in Europe, but...
You knew that, so it's not in Australia.
Yes, exactly. I knew that partly because I did a semester abroad in Australia, so I knew that was not Austria. That was an experience of a lifetime. But after university, I do have a little bit of a history with Austria, which looking back is very interesting when we kind of trace purpose in our lives. Back in 1999, when I was 14 years old, my family lived in Zurich for my dad's job.
Really?
Just a half of a year.
What does your dad work?
He's a neuroscientist, and so he was doing some research at a university in Zurich.
Wow.
And we got to move as a family to Zurich, and I was homeschooled, and we got to travel around. And so we did some like day trips over to Austria, and that was my first touch point with Austria. Was 14 years old, got to see a few little villages and some sights. And fast forward several years later, 2005. My sister moved there. My older sister, I have 3 sisters, and my older sister moved there because her husband is a professional basketball player.
Oh.
And so he played for the
Zurich.
Gmunden Swans.
Oh,
in Austria. And
really?
at this time, I'm in the US, I'm in high school, but since she moved there, we came to visit her for one Christmas. So there was a second touch point with Austria.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So that's why we're doing these fun interviews, you know? And keep going. When I finished my university degree in San Diego, I was looking for a next step, a job, or kind of what I wanted to do with my life. And I remember coming out of a financial planning internship, and thinking, this is not what I want to do with my life. I'm sitting at a desk crunching numbers all day. So I came out of that into a parking lot and just kind of leaned up against my car. And as a believer, I prayed and asked God kind of, what should I do? And I sensed this question, what are your passions? What are your passions right now in life? And at that time, I could identify 3 passions. One was soccer, another was traveling, and third was helping people. I realized I really enjoyed investing into people's lives, kind of like mentoring. This would be when I'm 21, 22 is when I graduated. But at this point in my life, I then sensed through that conversation with God, and then through a conversation with a mentor I had at the university, he said, well, you know what? I have a connection for you in Oregon, so that's north of California, a guy who runs a semi-pro soccer team. He's the manager of the team, and they have kind of a Christian focus to serve in the neighborhood and to serve children and even to serve internationally. I thought, well, that sounds interesting. So he connected me with this guy who runs Surge International. And that was the connection to Austria.
That was the connection to Austria. But by then, your sister already lived in Austria, right?
She lived in 2005, and then she moved back.
Oh, okay.
And I moved over in 2007.
Funny.
Yeah.
So your sister was not there anymore.
She wasn't, no.
But for your family, it was always natural that you would move around or travel. So it was, how was it for your parents to get the news that you were about to move to Austria?
Yeah, they were excited for me because, as you said, they're also international travelers, and they recognize the advantage of experiencing different cultures and expanding your horizons. And originally, the plan was just to come for 1 year. So they were also excited, thinking I would come back. But unfortunately, I've never come back. I'm still living here 16 years later. Of course, I've been back to visit, and I have a very good relationship with my parents. But original plan was 1 year with Surge International. Soccer ministry, serve in the neighborhood, using the talent that I had and to play on a team here at a high level. So that was the reason I came to Austria. And I'll share just one more thing, because it is interesting just tracing the purpose of kind of how we're guided to go places and do things. I shared a few touch points with the country of Austria, but this is where the story really gets crazy. After living here for several years, we started meeting with people in coffee shops and mentoring them and just getting to know them on a deeper level, helping guide them along in life. Today you would call it mentoring or coaching. We were just doing this in a natural way.
Who is we?
Myself and 2 other guys that I lived with. We just started a regular meeting point at a coffee shop.
Oh,
and,
I remember.
Yeah.
In Vienna.
You showed up a couple of times once you moved there.
I was there, people.
Yes.
Long time ago.
So we ended up calling these the Starbucks Fellowships. So it was just a place where people could connect and be really authentic and share highs and lows in their life. And we would also open the Bible and kind of get wisdom for daily life and just discuss it. It was really dynamic. And it's on a street, if you're familiar with Vienna, Maria-Hilfer-Straße, one of the main shopping streets in Vienna. So after living here several years, we were doing this regularly. And my mom contacts me one day and says, hey, I've been doing some family research, some family history, and I'd like to send you some information that I've found out. And she doesn't know the streets of Vienna or anything, but it's important for what I'm about to say now. She shared with me a document called The Polish Journey, which shares my grandfather's journey. He was born actually in Switzerland. He emigrated to the United States. But she shared with me this document. And as I was reading through it in my apartment in Vienna, I'm reading through, okay, my grandfather, born in Geneva, Switzerland, emigrated to the United States. But before he did, he lived shortly, the document said, in Vienna, which I had no idea. my grandfather lived in Vienna,
Wow.
and his address was Maria Hilferstrasse.
No way. Oh, I got goosebumps.
Yeah, so it's really interesting when you just look back and kind of look. I didn't know originally why Austria. Like, why Austria? Of all the countries in Europe or all the countries in the world, why Austria? And there does seem to be this deeper purpose, this deeper connection.
I even wanted to, before you shared that, I even wanted to make a joke and say, hey, maybe you have roots here.
Yeah.
So funny. As I remember, you also mentioned sometime that you have Norwegian roots?
Swedish, huh?
Swedish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my mom's side. So the story I just shared was my father's father, my dad's side. But yeah, my mother's side, Swedish roots. Just got to go to Sweden for the first time ever last year. That was awesome to do a fivefold training workshop.
What, before we go into the main story, what other small reasons in this beginning of your chapter were big, or how it felt big, but it was like still small things that made you say, yeah, I think I can imagine investing here. Like before we go into the big story,
Yeah.
what were the small things?
Some of the small things. I really enjoy the culture here, to be honest. And there's one highlight that they have every year in the summer called the Rathaus Film Festival, where in the city square they have this giant projector canvas that plays in the evenings movies or operas or ballets. So just a real cultural experience where you can then eat food, and it's a warm summer evening, and you can watch these movies on this giant screen in the open air for free. Food's not for free, but the movies and the ballets and the orchestras and things like that are. There's also a Schönbrunn, so that's a palace, Schönbrunn Sommernachtskonzert, so a summer night concert, same idea. One of the most famous orchestras in the world plays a free concert, and you can sit on the grounds and watch that and enjoy that. So just the culture here is really something I'm grateful to be living in Austria, specifically Vienna, to be able to enjoy. There's so many things that are offered, and some of them free, some of them cost, but the cultural offer is amazing. But also add the mountains in Austria. Something I'm grateful to be living here.
Yeah, because you like nature, right?
Exactly. And my family has come over to visit sometimes, and several times, and my dad and I have gone hiking in the mountains, and just being, it's powerful to be in nature and in creation. The mountains are so breathtaking. So also, maybe last but definitely not least, I'm grateful to be living here because I met my wife here. Yes, so that is obviously a game changer.
Come on.
Yeah.
So would that be the biggest thing that actually made you stay in Austria? Is this the one?
Yeah, probably combined with the sense of purpose I felt here. I saw I was having an impact in other people's lives. And when you invest in people and you see that it's having an impact, and it's very fulfilling for you. So I saw that I was having an impact, and then I met my wife, and those two things made me stay. Yeah.
Which story stood out for you that changed your life here in Austria?
It was a time where I was at a crossroads, and I really didn't know, should I stay here or not? It was about the 2-year point, and it felt like I was living life on 2 continents, in the United States and in Europe, and maintaining social relationships, maintaining bank accounts, maintaining things. So it was becoming too much. And I felt like, okay, I need to choose one country or the other to put roots down. And so I was really searching for answers and spending time getting advice from other people and praying and just kind of trying to navigate this crossroads, because I sensed I needed to decide and put roots down in one country or the other. Go back to the United States.
After 2 years.
After 2 years, yeah. I had also invested in learning the language and was growing in German proficiency, but needed to decide, do I continue to invest time in learning German, or do I not, because I'll be moving back. And it was a really nice day in Vienna, where I had met with a group of people for brunch, and we were having discussions, and had also talked a little bit about the Bible and just about our lives, what was going on. And after that time, I sat down on a bench waiting to go home on waiting for the tram that would take me to back home.
Do you remember where that was? Exact place?
It was the Straßenbahn. I don't remember the exact number, the exact place. It was I can tell you it was in the 5th district. Yeah,
in the 5th district.
In the 5th district, yeah. And I was waiting on the tram there, and I was kind of burdened with this weight of this decision, because it was a life-changing decision. If you stay here, your life's going to look different than if you go back to the US.
Did you also share that with your friends before?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't remember to what extent, but they knew it was on my radar, and kind of a big decision was coming.
Did they try to influence you?
Yeah, I think they did. Yeah. Yeah, they wanted me to stay, which I was thankful for. And it's, nice to have friends, of course, that want you to stay. But I was waiting on the bench for this tram, and there was an old lady sitting next to me. And I shortly opened up the Bible because I was like reviewing what we had just looked at and kind of searching for answers there. And the elderly lady, such a sweet old lady, she leans over to me and she says in German, "Young man, what are you reading?" Which never happens in Vienna, right? You don't talk to strangers in Vienna. Yes. Like, no one does this on the Straßenbahn or the U-Bahn or waiting, you just don't engage in casual conversation. It's not part of the culture. So that caught me off guard, but she was such a sweet old lady. I started talking to her and I told her what I was reading. And she asked kind of what was burdening me, and I told her the whole scenario.
Really?
Yeah.
She was asking you
so she was asking personal questions. Also, very unusual.
Yes.
So we continue talking, and the Straßenbahn comes, the tram comes, and she is also getting on, she said. So I said, great, we can keep talking. And I sensed there was something unusual about this woman, or unique. Not only that she would talk to me as a stranger and ask personal questions, but there was just such a peace about her, and such an interest, and such a wisdom, maybe because of her age, or just, life wisdom. So I was like thinking, okay, I need to listen to this woman. She's got some good things to say. Wow. So she asked me some more questions, and I said, yeah, I'm not sure, should I continue to invest people here? Because obviously there's a lot of people in the United States you can also invest into. It's a transferable job skill, right? You can work anywhere in the world. There's people, and you can mentor them, you can coach them, you can invest into their lives. And so I told her that line. I said, yeah, I'm not sure, because in the she said, why would you go back? That was her question. Why would you go back? And I said, well, because in the US, there's people that I could also invest into that also need to grow in their relationships, and grow in their relationship in faith, and also with one another. And that's why I would go back, because there's people there that could also use it. Then she looked at me, and this is the moment that really changed things, because she kind of leaned in, and she looked like directly in the eye. Also unusual, right? Wow. Direct eye contact.
Like she was seeing your soul.
Looking. That's exactly how I felt, Lala. Wow. I looked like she was not just looking at me, making eye contact, but she was like looking into my soul, and not in like a creepy way. It was just like a full of love and wisdom and peace, and I want what's best for you way.
Wow.
And she said these words, because I had just said, yeah, I could go back because people there might need me to invest in them. And she leaned in and she looked at me and she said, young man, we need you here. And that's when I knew. It was like, click. Wow. I'm supposed to be here.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I appreciate Austrians, and specifically this Austrian woman who, yeah. I mean, looking back, I'm like, this must have been an angel. She was like so, it was just like divine timing.
Wow.
And that was a moment as part of kind of my larger story that really changed the trajectory of my life. Being here now 16 years.
Wow, I'm speechless, because this is the kind of, that's what I want to point people also to, that things like daily, it could have been, like she could have just not approached you, right, or
just
not
a very
anything.
daily situation.
Yes, unplanned, taken by surprise.
Yeah.
Even like taken by surprise by an Austrian. Normally, you know what's coming.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's what I desire also to awaken in the people, to pay attention more to the people around you, and to be able to go through the daily life with like a sensor, like not only focused on yourself, but like what's happening around me, like how is the young man next to me, like what is he doing, like and I think this is such an amazing example of also the amazing people that are in Austria, and people who have good intent and who care for each other. And I love that this old lady cared for you in that moment.
Definitely.
Which took you by surprise.
Definitely.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm blown away.
You didn't know I was going to share that story.
No, I had no
Thought
idea.
about beforehand. Should I give you like a preview of it, or would that spoil it?
Yeah.
It was pretty impactful situation.
And so for you was of course clear that you would stay.
That was kind of like the last puzzle piece of the puzzle. So I had seen some other puzzle pieces coming together, but I was waiting for like a real click, and that was it.
Did you ever meet this lady again?
Nope, never met her again. No.
So she was like an angel.
Yeah, she was like an angel.
Did you see her wings?
Yeah, no.
How does the journey goes? You decided to invest in the Austrians, invest in the people here. What does invest mean? Like, how do you see that? Or what does it mean for you? Because of course it has a different meaning for everybody. You mentioned before helping, fellowshipping or building community. How exactly? Very specific.
Yeah. Over the years, it's looked different. I've done very different things, from working as an English native speaker teacher in a elementary school here, investing into kids, also doing soccer camps in the summer, variety of different things, variety of different roles over the years. And I started 10 years ago, for example, to get specific, a nonprofit organization called Curios Ministries. And that's a platform for leaders to thrive in their calling. So everyone has a desire to have an impact in the world, and often the support system is missing. They feel alone. But what we offer is a relational, spiritual, emotional, and financial support system to help people thrive in what they sense they're called to do. So that is one example of something that I started and that invests into people's lives. Those people that are part of the nonprofit are then in turn investing into other people's lives. So it has a multiplication effect. That's one example of how I've invested into people's lives. I mentioned earlier these, what we in the end called SBUCS fellowships, these little community groups in Starbucks coffee shops where people could, without signing up, just show up on a Monday night, a Tuesday night, a Wednesday night, because it grew and multiplied into different coffee shops. But to come and have authentic friendship, authentic community over a cup of coffee, which is very much the Viennese culture. And we had a great time. So many of those friendships that were formed are still active today. It's really incredible looking back, and people would say there's just such a buzz in the atmosphere. There was a joy. You would maybe work or study the full day, and you normally be tired, but at the end of the day, there was just this joy to go meet the people at the coffee shop, and a community had been formed around God's word and around these friendships, and it was something really unique, really special. So that was also something that a group of us started over the years in order to invest in Austrians, but also it's a very international city. So it was a very international community as well.
Amazing. I remember also being part of these Starbucks fellowship groups. I didn't attend quite often, but I remember knowing just the fact that I knew that there is a group of people that I could go to and a group of people who would be thrilled to have me there, because you don't have this, like, who is happy to see you, you know, like work colleagues, you see them every day. Students, like, everybody has their own story, their own background. And yeah, I've been out of student life for some time, but back then I had no deep connections with them, and it was really hard for me to connect in that groups. And I remember I always felt a sense of belonging. And that made this group more special to me, that I knew, hey, I can go there and people are thrilled to have me. And I also can, have fellowship. And it's something nowadays so precious. You don't see it every day. And even we stayed friends for so many years. And of course, with your wife, Insa, and with the kids, we love seeing you, and we love just going back to all the memories we experienced. And this is, I can testify to all of you out there that what Nathan is saying is true, because I've been part of these groups and of these fellowships, and what has been born back then, I've never seen in my life. And people really have intention of staying in contact with you. And I've never had the experience of living on a bad note, like leaving a group or leaving a relationship because something bad happened, because there was no such thing. There was so much goodness, happening in those relationships, in those events together, in those meetings, and fun things also. Not only
a lot of laughter and
partying,
parties. We had a lot of
this amazing. I think that's where we met, actually.
That's where it was.
Yeah,
a theme party. At our shared flat.
I think I have some pictures.
Oh, we have some good pictures. We have some good.
I'm gonna show them.
Halloween party style where people get dressed up, and we would have role playings, kind of like murder mystery type of idea, where there's like something to solve, something to do together, and we just came up with creative, crazy ideas, and people laughed their heads off and talk about the parties to this day. Great. We should do them again. We need to revive those.
Yes, we can do that, of course. I mean, like,
You're
party. I'm always in for party.
To everyone listening to the podcast, the next party is free party entrance.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would be in, actually. I'm always in for a party. And you have all the opportunities in Vienna, and also to go partying, or at least gather and have a theme party. Yeah.
Going back to the idea of community, it's interesting because now a lot of businesses, not just in Austria, but internationally, they have recognized the importance of community. They will even hire a community manager to create community, whether it's, community lunches or evening drinks together. There's someone that, depending on the company's size and budget and everything, but that is hired for a certain number of hours per week to be a community manager, because they've recognized it boosts morale of the employees, and it brings people together. So there's a sense of unity and camaraderie, and that boosts then productivity and makes the company a better place to work. So people have really recognized the value of community.
Do you think these kind of values are more addressed to the generation between 30 and 40, or is this also being implemented in the younger generation? Because, of course, you grow older, you have other, surround yourself automatically with parents. If you have kids, I don't have children yet, but you are also part of the family community. Do you have a sense that this is growing more in that, like, group of people beginning with 30? Or is something being addressed also for the younger generation?
It's a good question. I can speak for sure for our generation, and I think it's also relevant for the generation behind us, because it's in such a digital age now. People are longing for authentic, real relationships. Online has its place and has its advantages, but in the end, that gives us a greater desire. And thinking of the lockdowns that we experienced worldwide, that loneliness, it grew even more than to have a desire to get together with people face to face and in community. And so in the millennial generation, I read a study once that the top 3 values of millennials are desiring to have an impact in the world. So that's why they want to get a job. Wherever they get a job, they want to have impact, a greater impact, being part of something bigger. And then community, and then authenticity. Those were like the 3 top values of the millennial generation. So one of those being community, the desire to be part of community, the desire to cultivate community. And it's something in general that's hardwired into all of us as humans, but especially in the millennial generation.
So in your surroundings, in your groups of people and communities that you've built so far, how many of them are actually young people?
Yeah, I'd say
or under 30, let's say.
Yeah.
I'm also young.
Yeah. For me, being now married and with young children, it seems like we attract also families with young children. So one of the communities I've built now is a spiritual community, a simple church for people who are actually disillusioned with church and looking for something kind of different, to reimagine church and to experience Jesus and to taste the goodness of who God is. But the point being is the people in that community are primarily young families, maybe because that's the life stage that we're in. And so that's the people we relate to the most and who we connect with or invite. But as I said earlier, I've spent also different years investing into youth through summer soccer camps or through teaching English and things like that.
So I would have actually a question for the audience. If anyone has connection to this kind of groups for people under 30, just write them in the comments or contact me, because I think this is a really huge, important topic, especially in Austria, especially with the younger generation, with the digital world. Like you said, there's a huge impact on their self-image, on their identity. And I think we need this kind of community more for these generations so that they have a safe place. So if anyone knows any NGOs or has connection or even is part of such an NGO under 30, I would love to connect with you, because I think bringing more awareness in this area would help the communities also in Austria.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can do a promo. We are starting a Curios community. So for anybody of any age who wants to be seen, known, heard, get feedback on their ideas, be supported in their dreams and their callings, that's something we're launching in 2024.
And for also, so for any kind of
regardless of the age, yeah.
So, okay, and regardless of faith?
Yeah.
So there's not faith-based,
Yeah.
like people who don't believe in Jesus or in God.
Yeah, it's open for everyone. I'd say the core values are rooted around Jesus. And what I've found in just conversations with people too is people usually don't have a problem with Jesus at all. They have a problem with the church as an institution. But Jesus, man, great teacher, check. Great morals, check. Fascinating person to follow, check. Revolutionary in society, check. So for most people, there's a resonance there. So the community will be rooted in Jesus, but it's very open for anybody who wants to be a part of it. There'll be a hybrid online and in person. I can maybe post a link in the chat.
For sure, yeah. I mean, I'm open. That's why I also created this podcast to give voice to good stories, to good NGOs, to purposeful communities, purposeful groups of people, and for this platform to be a point of connection. So I am aware that there are actually
there's
NGOs,
tons in Vienna, yeah.
But I would love people to connect on my platform, because that's why actually I want to just give more voice to these platforms, and more voice to these people, and helping hands and helping hearts, and that's actually the vision, yeah. People to recognize more goodness happening in all around them. Coming to the last part of the podcast, actually that was supposed to be my last question. If you're experiencing good in Austria, or goodness and good things, good stories, question was, what are good things that you are giving forward to the Austrians? But you already answered that. My mission is to bring you hope, help you connect more to the good things happening in your daily life, and to pay attention more to the small things that happen in your life, and to also be aware of the goodness happening in your life. Because, for example, I can give a personal example. I live with my husband, but I work with elderly people, and they tend to share a lot about their sicknesses, about their state, which is most of the times not so good, and their health situation. And this during the last years has been quite burdening for me, even though I love listening to their stories and for them to have like a person to vent on. But I realized over the years that it's been waiting on myself, and I'm going back home, and I need some time to recover from all these bad or sad stories. So actually, the way I got out of it is through my therapist, who I asked once, how do you manage to listen to all these stories and to still have the strength at the end of the day to be there for your family, to be there for your friends? And that's one thing that what he said. He said, at the end of the day, I'm in my car and I think about all the good things that I did, all the good works I've done. And I let that take space in my heart. I let that take room in my heart and grow. And if it's one thing, then I'm going to focus on one thing. And I was really amazed because like this guy is 75. Wow. And he's been such a blessing for myself, even though like the topic of therapists nowadays starts to be more, to come more natural to be able to talk about. But I took that with me, and ever since then, actually, I'm focusing at the end of the day on good things, and that's actually how also this podcast.
That's really cool.
Yes, I thought, how can I give more voice to the good stories so that people can make room in their heart for better stories, for good stories. I wanted to ask, what exactly, you mentioned investing in people and helping hands. So where you are right now, what do you do to make the world better around you? Like what exactly? I need facts.
Yeah, some specifics.
Specifics.
Sure. Yeah. You mentioned earlier kind of trying to keep your antennas up as you're going through the day. And that's something I definitely, a practice that is part of my life. Just as I'm on the U-Bahn and going in the city to different meetings and things like that, always just keeping an eye out for people who need a helping hand. The classic is maybe, someone who's selling newspapers, or a beggar who just, maybe they don't need money, maybe they just need a hug, or just some food, or just someone to look them in the eyes and give them dignity. And so that's something I try to practice regularly, whether it's just like the power of one. You can't do that for everyone all day, but to keep your eyes out for those who need, just like the elderly woman on the bench in the Straßenbahn did for me. It's like, hey, maybe this person next to me needs hope, needs direction, needs encouragement, and I try to fill up my tank in the morning with God's love and his presence, and then throughout the day distribute that to other people in little practical and tangible ways. On a job level or professional level, I started a company called Fivefold Training.
Tell me more about that.
And it's a way I kind of turned a hobby into a profession. So self-employed, and started Fivefold Training. So I help individuals who are maybe stuck and just don't know their gifts, don't know their calling. Help them discover those through one-on-one coaching. And I help teams who are frustrated or struggling or ineffective through unforgettable. I help them collaborate better and become healthier through unforgettable team building experiences. Something I designed that's outdoors. So you're outdoors throughout the day, going through kind of tent stations and having fun while doing it. So team building experiences.
Do you have waterfalls involved?
That's a good one. I should have built that in. The problem is in Vienna, we don't have any waterfalls.
Yes.
But I have done this
There's a small one in Schönbrunn.
I'll have people jump through the waterfalls and see how that goes. I've done it in some different cities around Europe, and I could look for some places with waterfalls. That's what made me think of it. But so individuals, investing into them through one-on-one coaching, teams through team building experiences, and then a lot of churches that feel overwhelmed because maybe for the church leader, the burden feels like it's on them, the expectations, the amount of work. But I help churches who feel overwhelmed become healthier and more holistic and centered around Jesus by activating these 5 areas. So that's why it's called fivefold training. It focuses around 5 areas, which is, to use church language, it's the apostolic, prophetic, evangelistic, shepherding, and teaching. And to use more business language or sociological language, it would be mentoring, pioneering, aligning, then championing and teaching. So these are 5 areas that every team or company needs to be healthy and strong.
Yes, I remember you mentioning that you also, at least you want to open up more to also businesses, right?
Yeah.
So not only churches or at least people around the church structures, but also companies that have difficulties with their employees, right?
Yeah. We've done one team building with a German company that's based here in Vienna, and then just this week, signed a second contract for a company here in Vienna.
Come on.
So things are opening up. It's exciting. Yeah.
I'm glad. So this is how you experienced goodness in Austria. This is how you are giving goodness also forward and actually empowering the ones around you. And I think that's a powerful story. Not only small things, but also big things. And I love that about your journey.
Yeah,
and just
thank
love seeing, of course, we know each other for so long, and love seeing your development and how you don't stop.
Okay.
It's not like, oh, I've had enough of this.
I don't think I could do the same job for 20, 30 years. That's not how I'm wired. So I'm always kind of thinking of new things and new frontiers and new ideas, and how I'm wired as a pioneer, innovator. Yeah.
At the end now, I have actually 2 fun questions for you.
Cool.
So prepare.
Yes. Okay. I'm curious. You didn't send me these in advance, so I won't know.
Yeah. You have 20 seconds to tell us everything about you. So if you have 20 seconds.
That's good.
I'm going to time this. So.
All right.
Oh, wait. That's the timer. Oh, stopwatch.
All right.
So are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Whatever comes to mind, here it goes.
Okay, starting.
Okay, son of God, husband of 1, father of 2, lover of Mexican food, waterfalls, and investing in people. Boom. That was less than 20, I bet.
That was less than 10 seconds.
Wow, okay. I still have 10 seconds. I could think of a few more things, but I think that's enough.
Yeah. Wow, cool. Awesome. And the last question. What was the last thing you Googled?
The last thing I Googled? I'm sure I Googled something yesterday, but I really don't remember. I think I Googled the opening hours of a store here in Vienna. So not a very exciting answer, but hopefully other content that we talked about today was exciting enough to cover up for my Google search. And, as a gift to your audience, that I would be happy to share with your audience 5 free individual coaching sessions. So since we're kicking off a new podcast, and this being the first episode, we thought that would be a cool and a win-win, that the first 5 listeners who email me, Nathan at fivefoldtraining.com, and use a code.
We didn't talk about the code. You can use
You can use
Lala, the best of the best.
Lala's podcast.
No, I'm kidding.
If you just say you came through the podcast, then I can connect it.
Yes.
And I'm happy to give you a free, one free 50-minute coaching to help you. Maybe if you're stuck or just curious or don't know your gifts and your calling, would love to connect with you. So little
the first
gift.
5?
Yeah, first 5. Yeah,
The
this
first
is
time.
fun. Yeah.
Cool. I think
Free
that's it.
gift.
Yeah. So, guys, don't wait. Like, I know Nathan for so long, and I can recommend. He's an amazing coach.
Thanks.
So,
Cool. Well, this was fun. Thanks for the invitation, the opportunity.
yeah. Have you ever thought about doing your own podcast?
It has crossed my mind. Yeah. Yeah.
Come on.
We'll see. We'll see. Problem is, I have 16 other ideas, and I have to then discern now which one I should do now.
So thank you so much, guys, for listening till the end. We're going to see each other in the next episode. I already have a second guest, so make sure you're following my channel, you're subscribed, and leave a comment below on what good other things you experienced in
Yeah.
Austria. Not only big things, but also small things, day-to-day life. I would love to connect with you. Let's chat more in the comments because I love hearing stories. Yes, feel free to share whatever you've experienced in Austria, good stories, deep stories. I am here for all of it. So thank you again and see you on the second episode.
Yeah.